Welcome to Jikook Are Dating. Hope you're all doing well, Jikook fans. Today I bring you a video full of happiness, tenderness, and surprises because yes, our Jikook is back. And when I say back, I don't mean they're causing trouble, but they're back to share the Jikook interactions we've all been missing with the public. And here, as I always say, it's all about patience. Waiting calmly because sooner or later they will. Bring back the moments we love. That gentle gaze didn't happen just once. It happened repeatedly, at different times and places, as if it had become a habit that Jungkook himself never really noticed. In various moments, on stage, behind the scenes, even in casual settings, Jungkook's reaction to Jimin always felt different. As if there was a special space that only Jimin had in Jungkook's world, a space that made his expression change without needing permission from his mind. There were times when Jungkook seemed so focused on what he was doing, but as soon as Jimin's voice was heard, his reflexes appeared faster than his consciousness. His head turns, his eyes search, and when he finds that figure, his gaze softens instantly. Not a surprised look, not a curious look, but a calm look, as if he has just confirmed that the important person is where they should be. ARMY often refers to this moment as instinct, because it's not contrived. It's not planned. It's even difficult to imitate. It's a spontaneous reaction that arises when someone feels safe in the presence of another person. And Jungkook, unconsciously, shows that Jimin is the source of that sense of security. Interestingly, Jungkook rarely notices the change in his own expression. He doesn't know that the corners of his eyes soften, that his smile becomes smaller but more sincere. He doesn't know that his body language changes too. His shoulders slouch a little, his body opens up more, the distance he unconsciously keeps to stay close. It all happens so naturally, like breathing. And this is where many ARMYs feel speechless. Because the most honest feelings often appear when someone isn't trying to show anything. Jungkook wasn't trying to prove anything. He wasn't playing a role. Precisely because of that, every glance felt so real and deep. There was one moment that fans talked about the most. When all the members were laughing together, the atmosphere was boisterous and full of energy. In the midst of that little chaos, Jungkook laughed freely, as usual. But as soon as Jimin turned to look at him, his laughter slowly subsided. His eyes meet Jimin's, and his smile changes. It becomes calmer, softer, as if there is a silent conversation that only the two of them understand. There is no touch, no words. But that 1 second of eye contact is enough to change the atmosphere. Many call moments like this small, undeniable proof, because they are too consistent to be called coincidence. Jimin himself often seemed to accept that gaze in his own way. Sometimes he would respond with a small, almost imperceptible smile. Sometimes he would pretend to be busy, as if wanting to hide the feelings that might arise. But there were times when Jimin would just stay silent, letting the gaze linger, and it was precisely then that the warmth felt strongest. Relationships like this don't always need a definition. They don't always need acknowledgement. Sometimes it lives in small gestures, in habits that form slowly. Jungkook and Jimin have grown up together, going through years full of pressure, dreams, and changes. And perhaps, in the midst of it all, feelings have developed without them realizing it. Jungkook's gentle gaze seems to be a reflection of their long journey. From training partners, friends, to someone whose presence feels so important, that gaze is not just about liking. It carries concern, protection, and a desire to make sure that Jimin is okay. What touches ARMY is the fact that Jungkook remains himself. He doesn't turn into a possessive or excessive person. On the contrary, his love, if you can call it that, is seen in its simplest form. Seeing, listening, being there. And perhaps Jungkook never realized that every time he looked at Jimin like that, he was opening his heart little by little. That without a single word, his feelings had already spoken to the world. That gentle gaze came again. and again, as if it were a secret language that kept repeating itself, waiting to be understood. Or perhaps left as a beautiful mystery, something that always repeats itself, even though it's never announced, never openly acknowledged. Something that appears so natural, so honest, that it feels most real. That gaze. Jungkook's gentle gaze every time his eyes meet Jimin's. And this time, once again, ARMY noticed it first, while Jungkook himself seemed completely unaware that his feelings were being read. Amidst the crowd, amidst the cheers, cameras, and never-ending spotlights, Jungkook stood as a professional idol. But there was one small, almost imperceptible moment that made everything feel different. When Jimin spoke, laughed, or even just stood silently staring ahead, Jungkook's eyes seemed to change. His gaze softened, his expression dropped a notch, calmer, warmer, more personal. Not a stage gaze. Not a fan service gaze. This was a gaze that appeared without plan, without script, without awareness that millions of eyes might be watching. And that's where the honesty lies. Many say Jungkook is an open book when it comes to expressions. He might be able to control his movements, his professional smile, even his words. But his eyes often betray him. Every time Jimin is near him, there's a different sparkle. Not just admiration for a bandmate, not just comfort with an old friend. There's a sense of safety, tenderness, and attention that seems to say, "I see you," even when others don't. What makes this moment even more touching is how natural it all happens. Jungkook isn't trying to look sweet. He's not seeking the camera. Often, that gaze appears when he thinks no one is watching. When his focus should be elsewhere, his eyes unconsciously return to Jimin. And Jimin often doesn't notice. Or maybe he does, but chooses not to overreact. Sometimes he just smiles a little. Sometimes he just keeps doing what he's doing. But there are times when their eyes meet, and in that split second, the world seems to stop. ARMY calls it the unspoken language. There are no words, no acknowledgement, but the emotion feels so strong. Jungkook's gaze isn't demanding, it isn't possessive. It's gentle, accepting, as if saying, "You don't have to be anything. I'm still here." What is most touching is the fact that Jungkook seems completely unaware of how obvious his feelings are. He laughs as usual, moves as usual, talks as usual. But every time Jimin is within his field of vision, there is a small change that cannot be faked. A slower smile, more relaxed shoulders, a longer gaze than usual. For many fans, moments like these feel the most real. Not the big rumors, not the sensational headlines, but the small slices of life that slip through the cracks, revealing their human side. Jungkook isn't just a strong, energetic golden magne. In front of Jimin, he looks softer, more honest, more vulnerable. And perhaps that is what made that gaze so touching. Because he wasn't trying to express anything, yet he revealed everything. That gentle gaze appeared again. And once again, ARMY saw it. Once again, Jungkook didn't realize that his feelings had spoken first.